Hi, and welcome to another episode of How to Do Atkins Low Carb. My name is, of course, Kent Altina, and today's episode comes out of another comment that I received in one of my videos, and something that I've noticed in a lot of the people who've commented to me in their menus that they've posted online. And the question one is this: how do I count my Splenda against my carb count per day? I'm having about 6 to 7 packets per day of Splenda in my iced tea. And I said, of course you have to count your Splenda because it contains some maltodextrin. He was having the packets, and that complex carb of the maltodextrin is obviously adding at least a carb per packet that you need to count. But I went on a little further from there, and I am, however, concerned about the amount 6 to 7. You may or may not know that Dr. Atkins recommends 3 times in his book on page 87, 95, and 146 that you should have no more than 3 servings or 3 packets of artificial sweeteners per day on the diet. Well, during the ongoing weight loss phase, it certainly becomes that your mileage may vary, and you can certainly do what proves right for you. So if you can still lose and have more artificial sweeteners per day, feel free to do it. But then again, you're on your own at that point. You're deviating from what the good doctor recommended. So how much is safe? Why the three servings per day limit? And of course, there are some in the community that would like you to believe that no artificial sweeteners is safe. I.e., you should have no artificial sweeteners. That would include Splenda, Saccharin, or the aspartame. Now, Dr. Atkins says specifically that you're allowed to have saccharin or sucralose, which were the 2 that he recommended. He specifically told people not to have aspartame in the fact that in his clinical studies, it wasn't so much of a safety aspect, but in his clinical studies, 25% of his patients stalled while having aspartame. And the question might come, well, why did they stall? They weren't having any additional more carbs. They were just having this artificial sweetener, which has zero calories, and that gets back to weight loss is not just calorie in, calorie out. If that was the case, how could aspartame, which is a zero calorie product, affect your weight loss? And the fact is that aspartame can cause a cephalic insulin reaction, which is your brain tasting something sweet on your tongue, going through and releasing insulin, which it creates a metabolic pathway for the fat that you're eating to be stored as bodily fat as opposed to being consumed for fuel. It also affects your blood sugar levels by creating those blood glucose drops and spikes by releasing that insulin. So that's one of the reasons. The other reason is, like I said, Dr. Atkins recommended was probably one of the original unprocessed food purveyors, in which recommending you shop around the outside of a grocery store as opposed to in the center of a grocery store where all the processed foods are. He recommended that eating things as close to what your grandmother or someone from the 50s would understand as food, as opposed to what some factory put into something to make it as minimally as tasty as possible to get you to buy it, but as cheap as possible to make a profit on it. The second reason he recommended the daily sweetener limit per day is the view that sweet foods is constantly seen as a reward. You know, trying to break the old eating patterns in which you have your meal and then you have your dessert. Have a meal, have a dessert. And that dessert is always the reward on getting through your meal. I.e., that sweetness is the reward for eating the savory food. Well, that's what he tried to break by having a minimum or a maximum of 3 artificial sweeteners per day. He capped that in terms of seeing that food as a reward, and by doing that, hopefully helping you break some of the sugar cravings, the sweetness cravings that you may have had. By having more than those 3 daily sweetener allowances, you're promoting or continuing on those cravings within your body. And while you may be satiating the immediate one, you're prolonging the condition that caused those cravings to exist. Well, I hope this helps, and if you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the comment section below. And if you aren't a subscriber yet, please subscribe by clicking the yellow button on the upper right hand corner. Thank you very much. Talk to you guys later. Bye.